Hello, and welcome to this skill review for Chapter 3. As you can see, I've already gotten into SimNet. I've downloaded this file, the Office window file, instructions, and then the start file or the spreadsheet file. So I'm going to open up the instructions, and we can see we're going to learn about different types of functions here. So make sure you go through your lessons and read through the chapter. And I will try and add some different techniques as we go along. I'm just going to move my instructions over to the side on another monitor. Then I'll go ahead and open up my spreadsheet. And what we need to do is look at this spreadsheet and see what information might be in there. So I'm going to do enable editing. And we can see it's a grade book. Looks like it has students' names in there and some different grading points, maximum points for certain projects or assignments. And we're good there. And we've got another sheet here. Looks like it's a lookup table on a different worksheet. So together this makes up the workbook. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll read down through there. And so I've already opened the spreadsheet. And we need to save it just so that it's saved locally, not in read-only mode. We clicked the Enable Editing button already. And we looked at the two sheets. The first sheet contains the student names and their scores, and the second sheet is used to look up their letter grade for each student. So that was step 2. All right, starting on step 3, looks like we're finally going to do something. So it says on the scores worksheet, so make sure you've got that selected, enter the function in cell B3. What do we want? B3. And we want that function to display the date and time. So in the Formulas tab, that's where all the functions are located. We're going to click on the Date and Time button. So this is a category. And it wants us to use the Now function. Now if we knew that's what we're going to do, we could have just as easily have typed in equals now. And click OK. Now I'll point out that this is one of the few functions that doesn't require any arguments. And arguments are pieces of data or a range name that goes inside of these parentheses. But notice it conforms to what functions are. You have equal, the name of the function, and then an open parentheses and a closed parentheses. So over here, because we went through the formula tab and then got into our category and selected a particular function, this dialog box comes up and tells us exactly what that function will do. So we'll click OK. And so we see that that's what it put in there, the current date and time. So if we wanted some other format, we could select a different format to see if that might change it. I'm going to leave it alone for right now. So step 4 says the first column should be display the full name of the first name and last name of the students that you see on the screen. So what we need to do is figure out some way how to combine those. And we're going to use a function called concat. First name and last name columns. And we're going to concatenate. That's what it means to combine. We're going to combine this name and this name together. So we're already in the Formulas tab. This is a text operation, so the different functions that are available under text are all these that are listed. We're going to use this one, concatenate. Now you don't have to spell it all out, and I'll show you that here in a second, I believe. But we're going to click on this one. So depending on what version of Office you're using for Excel, you may or may not have that concat or concatenate function, but here's just the concatenate function. So it's given us a help dialog box. So in cell, we got that in cell C10 to enter the cell reference to the text one argument box. What does that mean? So the first part of this long string that we want to concatenate, we want to start off with first name first. So that's what it's saying here. And then the second thing is going to be the text2 argument. Now we can click in here, or as your worksheet steps say, you can hit tab, that takes you to here. So the second argument that we want to put in there is we actually want to put in a space so that it's not all concatenated together. So the second part is quote space quote. Now if you don't put the space in there, that'll be treated wrong. So a space is just like any other character to a computer. And in fact, that space is what the computer looks for sometimes when it's looking for things that are separated. So that's called a delimiter. We're going to press tab again to get us down to text 3. And inside of text 3, we're going to click on B10. So we should have C10 space B10. Okay. Click OK when the function looks like the following. So it's either concat or concatenate. Then your first argument, your other text that you want, which is in this case a space, and then your last text. So if you wanted to, if you get good at this and you have to do this a lot, you could just type that out. So really it's concatenate the first text, comma, and whatever else you want to go next, comma, and then the next argument. And you can do as many of these as you want. Okay, so this is something good. I'm going to hit save. So I went up here and changed this to concat. And you'll notice that that function isn't recognized in this particular version of Office Excel. So I get an error like this. So if you get something on your screen like this, the first thing you should think about is, oh, I've got a spelling problem. So look at your function up here, your formula bar, and make sure it's spelled correctly. If I could spell correctly. So concat, I'm putting too much in there. And I also need to spell correctly. And if everything works correctly, it should be like the following. The next step is to add the proper function so that the names don't appear all in uppercase. So we're going to edit this particular cell, and we can see where the different colors are. And we're going to create a nested formula by typing proper between the equal sign symbol and the concat. So what we want to do is we want to say, oh, take all of this and give it to the proper function, open parentheses, and then close parentheses. So those two parentheses on the outside belong to proper. The inside parentheses belong to concatenate. So this is called nested functions, and you can do this with almost any function that's there. You just have to remember the output of this function, which inside becomes the input to the function on the outside. And so if you've ever done algebra and evaluated those expressions, it works the exact same way. So once I hit enter, notice what it does now. It takes all these capitalized words and just makes the first letter of each of those words, and those are separated by the space here, and automatically does it for you. Then they want us to copy this down to A26. I copy the formula from A10 to A11 and 26. Use any method you want. So we could grab this and pull this down, but because it knows that there's data to the right here, it will stop when it hits there's no more data here. So what we can do is get it where our little plus sign is there, and we can double click. And it automatically does it for that column, knowing where to stop for us. And that may be a little bit quicker than just dragging it down. For step 6, we want to count the number of students to calculate the class size. So this might be helpful if we're looking for an average or want to just know how many students are in the class. So in order to do that, it wants us to click in B2 and start typing COU, and notice that it brings up a list of functions that begin with COU. It will click, if we hover over these, it tells us what they will provide to us. Now we could have easily found, if we knew which area it was in up here, we could have found it up here and brought up a dialog box. But count A counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So that means it's not counting a blank cell somewhere, which is very important when you want to get the right number, so that if you're doing an average, if you have to do some kind of calculation for average, it'll do it. Now there is an average function built into Excel, and it automatically takes into account blank cells for you. So we're going to use this count A, and so we're going to select that. So we double click that. So now it's kind of giving you little hints, similar to that dialog box we saw earlier for the different functions down here. So it wants to know, okay, what's the range, the value that we want to count. So we're going to click in cell A10. Okay. And go to A26. So I'm just going to hold down my shift key. Notice right down here in the status bar, I'm going to press the N key and then the down arrow key, and it automatically fills that range for me. Now I can just click up here, do a close parentheses, and hit enter. When I did that, it tells me there are 17 students in the class, I should say, in that count. All right. Step 7 says display the formula to check accuracy. So on the formula bar, or formulas tab, you want to go into the formula auditing group, and there is a option here called show formulas. So we're going to click on that. Notice that when it does that, it shows all the formulas that are in your spreadsheet. So this is a good way of double checking, especially if you had somebody else build a spreadsheet for you, checking their work and make sure it's logically complete and accurate. So when you're ready to continue, hide the formulas and display the formula values by clicking the show formulas again. So what this is it acts as a toggle. Click it once, it's on. Click it twice, it's off. Okay. Now there's a shortcut it gets the same thing. Notice I'm not clicking anything, but it's showing it selected. That shortcut is to hold down the control key and click the button that's right underneath your escape key. So what you want to click on is the tilde. Looks like a little squiggly sign. I'm still holding down the control key and clicking that tilde, so that just turns it on and off. Maybe quicker than jumping around and trying to find that. You know, go to formulas, then go to the auditing group, and then click on show formulas instead of just hitting that sequence. All right, so I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to make another video after this. So this is part 1 of the skill review for chapter 3.